bad movies, bad life advice, and even worse life decisions. We cover it all here on the Life with Kenny podcast. I'm your host, Kenny. Grab a beer, sit back, and relax for this week's episode, because things are about to get weird.
What's an all-American girl like you doing with a geek like this?
Forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Fuck me gently with a chainsaw.
Jimmy was off the hook. I know you really don't listen to Slipknot.
Judge Reinhold.
You are listening to a Life with Kenny podcast.
All right, thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the Life with Kenny podcast. We are doing a movie night episode for the first one of, season 2. I'm joined once again by co-host Other Kyle.
Other brother Kyle.
Brother Kyle. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm excited.
Thanks for coming back for this. And we are also joined by returning guest Shane.
What's up, pussies?
I wanted to bring Shane back because the movie we are watching is one I've been hassling him to watch for over a year now. The movie we're watching today is a 1987 movie, Miami Connection, which we had already covered on the podcast. I think it was like the second episode. And I've been talking about it ever since, and neither of you guys have seen it, so I thought what a better way to celebrate just over a year of doing this podcast than to have two friends come on and experience this together for the first time, because I didn't already torture you enough, Shane, with the Greasy Strangler. I thought
Greasy Strangler, I had the urge to watch again the other day. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to show some friends or whatever, I can lend it to you.
You own it? You own it? You own an actual copy?
I bought it on Blu-ray, remember?
Fuck, I'm going to borrow it from you today. I want to show people.
Okay. Under one condition,
if you're okay with that.
Yeah, under one condition, you have to come back and do an episode on Troll 2 with me for Halloween.
Deal.
Okay. Yeah. And then Kyle, what have you been up to since the last time we recorded? Have you seen anything or done anything?
Not really. Just been working and going to music shows. That's it.
Yeah. I had a fun time talking with you about video game stuff. I don't know if you heard about it, Shane, but me and Kyle went into some deep dive stuff on some video games. We talked about one from Japan.
Have you ever heard of Deadly Premonition?
Yes.
W Premonition?
Deadly.
Oh, no, what's that?
Oh, that's one of the worst, best games ever.
What is it?
It's basically Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
In a video game, but like the controls are really bad.
Gotcha.
But it's 100% Twin Peaks, but like I don't know, Kyle. Maybe you explain it better. I'm bad at explaining things.
Well,
also,
yeah, it's a cool concept, but yeah, the controls are garbage.
The controls are the worst part of the game.
I never got into it just because the controls are so bad, but I still own it.
Walking upstairs is fucking impossible in that game. Resident Evil's old controls? 10 times worse than that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
One of the games we talked about was called Bunka Bunka. And it's Spankum Spankum. And it's a Japanese game that's kind of like Dance Dance Revolution, where it's like you have a physical aspect to it. Based on the name, what do you think the objective of the game is?
What's it called again?
Spankum Spankum.
It's about spanking. It's based on the name.
Actually, it's where you take your finger and you jam it up this robot's ass as hard as you can, and you get points based on that. So yeah, that's what we talked about last.
Can I borrow that too?
Yeah, if you want. So if listeners are interested in that, you can go check that out. That was on our last episode. But yeah, this week
is there DLC?
Talking about Miami Connection. I think there is. I think you can play as Michael Jackson. He's a DLC character where you stick your finger up little boys' buttholes.
Allegedly.
But yeah, Shane, you said actually just before we started recording that you went and saw It Chapter 2 last night.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
What would you rate it? Would you have any thoughts
I'd rate
without spoilers?
I rate the entire thing probably about an 8 out of 10.
Okay, really?
Nice. All right.
What about the first one? What would you rate the first one?
Well, the first one's more scary.
Okay.
The second one's more I don't know if you've seen the original.
Yeah, it's a tough watch.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot better. But it's pretty close to what the original was, and I think it's. I'm gonna get slaughtered if I get this wrong, but it's pretty close to the book.
Okay.
I know there's gonna be some Stephen King. Well, actually,
children orgies and all that sort.
No children orgies.
Oh, okay. So
I know someone's gonna be listening. Well, actually, this didn't happen in the book, but it happened in the movie, so he was wrong. I know that's gonna happen, but
well, thankfully we're not a horror movie podcast, so we don't have to like live by those standards. We can fuck up as much as we want, which we will when we talk about Miami Connection. So have either of you guys seen or heard of Miami Connection before I told you guys about it?
I'd never seen it, but I'd heard of it, and then you covered it on the podcast, and it made me really want to watch it, but I've never gone around to doing it.
So you've listened to the episode then?
I have.
Shit. Okay, well then you have a pretty good idea what you're in for then.
I mean, I listened to it when you posted it, so that was like a year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah.
I have zero inclination of what's going to happen. I didn't even look it up. I know what it is. I know like what the movie is, but I don't know what the movie is.
Okay, so you've obviously heard of it then, obviously. Yeah, you're probably my go-to friend for if there's like a movie that's so bad that's good, I'd ask you about it probably because you've usually seen it. So I'm kind of surprised you haven't seen this one yet. What's that?
I just said I saw it.
No, you didn't.
I'm just kidding. I mean, like referring to the Stephen King movie.
Oh,
that was a bad joke.
Fuck.
Cut that out.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about this movie before we get into it, just so it's set up a little bit, because much like The Room, the backstory of it sets it up in a way that makes you enjoy it a little bit more, right? Okay. Like The Room, the guy was like a millionaire off of fucking God knows what gene cells. Underwear. And he made a shitty movie worth a lot of money, and yeah. So it's a similar story, actually. So Miami Connection was made in 1987, starring YK Kim. So YK Kim, you guys, is a Taekwondo instructor.
Yes.
He's been doing it so long that he's become Grand Master of Taekwondo. So he's quite the character.
I'm looking this up I'm looking up the reviews on Google, and it's got 91% like this movie on Google.
Yeah, you should check out the IMDb rating. I think it's like 5 point something.
5.8, which is actually not bad.
Yeah, so we'll get into that a bit more. This was directed by Woo Sang Park, who I think was a Korean actor, I believe. And YK Kim also directed this, and he also wrote this. So YK Kim is basically the Tommy Wiseau of this film.
The Tommy Wiseau of Korea.
Except a little more likable.
Hey, Tommy is great, all right?
So yeah, the film opened to poor box office results and scathing reviews and had long been forgotten. But in June 2009, Zach Carlson, a programmer for the Alamo Draft House in Austin, Texas, happened upon a seller on eBay who was selling a 35mm print of the movie. He'd never heard of the film, but bought it for $35. In April 2010, he screened the film at Draft House, and it became wildly popular with cult fans. So it's a similar story to The Room, where people just kind of found it way past the point, and it got a cult following, which I'm surprised this one hasn't caught on yet, but I'll get your opinion on that, Shane, if you think it will or not after we watch it.
We can discuss why it may have not caught on.
Yeah, or why it's going to.
Or why it's going to, yeah.
The film's failure was a painful experience for YK Kim, and he originally thought that the call was a cruel prank. Because the guy was trying to get distribution rights to this after he screened it.
Oh, actually?
Oh my god!
So he
called a prank.
So he called YK Kim, and the guy, because it failed so badly that this guy thought somebody was like making fun of him, right? So eventually he relented and saw that his film had become a popular midnight movie 25 years after its initial failure. So these guys ended up collaborating, and then this movie got somewhat of a release. And we're here now with a love. Well, I have a love for Miami Connection, so I'm excited to show you guys this movie.
I hope I get to love it as much as you do.
Yeah, I agree.
I genuinely, Shane, after watching Miami Connection, I got the same feeling that I got from watching The Room in a theater for the first time. And you don't get that very often. So I'm excited about this. And then I'll give you guys some little details about this movie that we can just kind of sprinkle in to set up some stuff and scenes and stuff in the movie that you guys will notice, because they're like little subtle things that might make it a little bit more funny. At some point in the movie, 2 police officers arrive at the scene of a brawl, They were real police officers, and they were apparently so nervous that one of them points his pistol straight at his fellow officer's torso.
What the heck?
Most of the cast were students of YK Kim's Taekwondo studio. YK
Cast?
Kim... Yeah.
Most of the cast were just...
Yeah,
okay.
there's almost no actors in this movie. They're all just Taekwondo students.
Okay.
Awesome.
YK Kim was so popular in Orlando, Florida, that the local government and law enforcement allowed him to film anywhere in the city without permits.
What?
Yeah. It opened in 8 theaters in Orlando, and YK Kim spent millions of his own money to produce, promote, and distribute the film himself. So I watched a mini documentary thing that they did on Vice, where the guy who bought the original print talks to YK Kim about this movie a little bit, and essentially he opened his own Taekwondo studio, got married to his wife. They'd just moved here from Korea, and sank all of his money into this film, and they basically lost it all. And the dude was like contemplating suicide and shit because of how badly this movie was. That's why when some guy calls 30 years later to be like, "Can I get rights to your movie?" He's pretty
God.
upset about it.
He's
So.
gonna kill himself. Poor guy.
He thank God did not go through with it, and he's still here to this day. He's super successful with Taekwondo studios. I think he's only one of like 30 grandmasters in all of North America in martial arts. So he's like super fucking skilled at martial arts.
Did Joe Rogan ever talk about this movie on his podcast?
I don't know. I don't really listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, but I don't think he would watch something like that. Do you think so?
I don't think so, but he's really into like the martial arts community.
Yeah, I
And
don't
if
know.
someone's that high of a grandmaster, or if that's someone that high up in their field of martial arts, I'm sure he knows about him.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never thought of that. I might have to do some research into that and see. But so the budget for this movie, just before we go in,
$12
was approximately $1 million.
approximately.
And that's just for the filming.
All made off Taekwondo students.
And the Taekwondo students and stuff. And that's not including the distribution stuff that he tried doing, all the promo, all the theaters that he had to rent out, all that extra stuff. So he's sunk probably millions into this
Yeah.
movie. So we'll set it up there. And with that, I guess let's go watch Miami Connection, and then we'll come back and we'll dive into it and see what you guys think.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. All right, we are back. We just watched Miami Connection. Where do you guys want to start with this? You guys want to?
Hey, no, that was you said that it was about something, and I feel like it was a promotional movie about Orlando. Like it was about Orlando and his Taekwondo studio and his band. Like that's what the movie was about.
Yeah.
Like he was like him promoting his band, Orlando, and his Taekwondo studio.
Okay, so so let's get into this. Do you want to just tell listeners roughly what the movie's about first?
No, I just fucking did. It's
I
about,
mean, you're not wrong.
it's about Taekwondo, his band, and fucking Orlando. The movie's called Miami Connection, but the whole movie takes place in Orlando. It's like calling a movie Saskatoon Connection. It takes place in Moose Jaw.
I mean, yeah. But there's a connection, Shane.
Yeah, the connection was that they were brothers, whatever. Fucking
No, the drugs were coming from Miami.
just don't watch the movie.
Well, okay. So
He's like at the fence. Oh wait, no.
no. Let's
Don't
hear
say that.
What did you guys think of this movie?
Well, I mean, it wasn't. It sucked, but in a good way. You put it on a pretty high pedestal when you said it was like The Room.
Well, I mean, nothing technically is like The Room.
No, but like that movie was bad, but it was like good at the same time.
It was a really bad movie. There was a lot of entertaining parts to it.
Yeah,
Was
And-
there a moment where you were like genuinely like super bored with it?
not bored. No, never bored. Never bored.
Okay, well that's good then. Okay, so if you had to rate it like out of
3.
5, you'd rate
1.5.
really?
-3. Well, like I mean, quality. Yeah,
You weren't entertained enough?
I was entertained. Like I'm taking everything into account when I give it a rating.
Shit. Okay, what about you, Kyle?
Like a 2.5, maybe.
That's even
Jeez.
generous. I mean, Google did give it what was it, a 7 out of 10?
90% of Google users liked the
91,
movie.
yeah. Okay, well, like,
Man.
And you guys are like less than the 50% mark, which is like surprising to me because this is like right up your guys's, well, Shane's alley for bad movies. I don't know. Kyle likes old.
Said it was entertaining, and like I'm sure I would like to show this to some people just to watch their reactions, which is why I get why you enjoy doing this. That's what I say.
Yeah, I get it too.
The best part was,
wait, I just noticed you're wearing a fucking Dragon Sound t-shirt. I just fucking noticed, you son of a bitch.
okay,
You son of a bitch.
so Miami Connection.
Imagine if we didn't want to watch this movie, would have broke his heart.
Oh yeah,
We would have just changed up the podcast. Let's just talk about something else.
guys, I wore this shirt and everything though.
He would have been fucking playing on his laptop the entire time, just been like, look.
So the first time I watched this movie, I had Patrick and Ethan, and I think it was the second episode we ever recorded for this podcast. Neither of those guys have seen The Room.
At that time?
Yeah, and neither are really like big fans of like bad movies. So I took like a big gamble on those guys watching this movie.
What do they think? I didn't listen to that podcast.
All of us thought it was just amazing. It's like a fun time, and
It's
that's
a
all
fun
that you really
time,
need from
but
a
the
movie.
movie's not fucking amazing at all.
Well, it's not going to be like a fucking.
It's an amazing time to watch it, but the movie's not amazing.
Right, it's not going to be The Godfather, but it's going to be up there with
Which
like
The Room
shitty
is.
movies. But I'm saying,
Oh no.
I'm saying like with time, there's enough weird shit in this movie that people could start developing games and start doing like midnight screenings and stuff for this one as well.
Okay, was I
could
right
totally
about what
see
it's
that.
about, though?
No, what do you just thought it was an ad?
Yeah, that's what it fucking was. It wasn't,
It
wasn't it?
totally was.
It was like 3 ads into one.
Okay, so what the movie's actually about is biker ninjas from Miami trying to export drugs to Orlando and sell them through a club through a band that used to play there, but the band got fired and replaced with Dragon Sound, which is a band
Which is the fucking shirt he's wearing, too.
filled with Taekwondo students who write songs about friendship and loyalty and honesty.
Taekwondo. And they have a song about Taekwondo.
And
Can you imagine having that much of an erection for Taekwondo? No. Let's write a song about friends first, but then Taekwondo.
And then when they wanted to write the song about Taekwondo and then break boards on stage afterwards, oh my god.
Honestly, this is exactly the reaction from you guys that I was hoping to get, because
They
I didn't want to
wrote a
rehash.
song about Taekwondo.
I didn't want to rehash the exact same reactions that we had the first time we watched it, so this is good. So yeah, then the band that got fired and replaced by Dragon Sound gets upset and teams up with the drug dealers to try and get Dragon Sound out of the club. And instead of just like trying to get them fired or whatever, or like stealing their instruments and breaking them and leaving them with nothing to play with, they actually like try to murder them.
Which is also fucked up because the guy who's trying to murder them is also the brother of the singer.
Yeah.
There's a female singer in Dragon Sound, and the guy who's trying to fucking kill him is her brother.
Yeah.
But he's super overprotective, which is also doesn't make fucking sense.
Oh, he definitely wanted to fuck her. You didn't get that vibe the whole time?
You could tell he had some brazzers in him. Some stepsister shit.
Yeah. I think they were full siblings though, because I couldn't really hear because
You
they were
telling
like
me you don't want to
mumbling.
fuck your brother?
There's like the one, yeah. There's like the one scene in the movie where they don't dub over the audio, and it's the whole conversation and explanation about that family dynamic. So it's something about the dad left them when they were young, and then the mom died, and now the brother takes care of her, and she hates him, and he's like, "Why do you hate him?"
He's like, oh, I don't know.
I
think he's trying to fuck me.
Some weird vibes at home.
Yeah, he stuck his finger in my ass once, and he hasn't been the same since.
But he's really supportive about me going to school.
But he pays for my tuition.
So would you guys recommend people watch
Yes.
this movie?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I recommend people watch every movie. So
This one in particular, though? Like,
Yeah.
who would you recommend this movie for? Am I far off by thinking fans of The Room or bad movies would like this one?
no.
Who would you not recommend this movie to?
Fucking also everybody. It's one of those movies where it's for everybody and not for everybody.
Right. All right, Kyle, if you were to show this to somebody, what would the qualifications be?
They would have to. I just want to watch them watch the movie exactly like you were watching both of us throughout the whole movie.
When he grabbed his fucking nose with
Oh
his
my
foot
God.
doing the karate scene, that pissed me off. Also, what pissed me off is when he put his fucking hand in his mouth.
just his mouth is wide open. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It's not even his hand, it's his clenched fist.
Yeah,
It just,
okay.
like, rests it in the guy's jaw.
Why? Was it supposed to show like how accurate he was with his fist?
Okay, I'm going to read some things to you guys here quick, and then we'll talk about this movie a little bit more. First thing, actually, do either of you regret watching this movie?
No.
No.
No. Okay, that's good.
Mike hit me in the face.
Okay, where was I? So I'll read you guys some reviews from people who watched
so
this
I'm gonna
recently.
re-rate. I'm gonna re-rate this. My experience watching it was probably a 91. The movie itself,
Right. If
2
I
out
were
of
to
10.
rate the room on its own, like if I wasn't
I would
rating
rate the room higher
experience,
as a movie.
if I wasn't rating the actual experience with the crowd and stuff, I would rate the room like so fucking low. It would be like a 0.5 for me. Because it drags on. There's not even like martial arts action to keep you entertained, right? Like
That was
But
barely
this-
martial arts.
But I'm saying this movie had like 6 full music videos. Like it was a super cut of like this
Dude,
fucking
if
the Warriors over.
Okay, no,
over-
okay,
This
the
is like
movie
a
was
band documentary when they're like, "This is how we made the album. Look at our 3 new music videos, and this is the hardships we overcame to get to it, traveling the world."
It was a behind the music of mixed with Ninja Turtles, 3 Ninjas, Warriors, and The Room.
Yeah,
That's what that movie was.
with over the top like fucking violence, special effects, gore.
Yeah,
Like yeah, like the
and
one
the worst, like the Korean people in the movie didn't even speak English. They could barely speak English.
the writer, actor, and director.
The writer, actor, director, producer, funder could not speak English
But
in the
Shane,
movie.
I thought we were all orphans.
Open.
Orphans.
Pardon me?
I love that shock factor where it's like, Jim, you have a dad? I thought we were all orphans. It's like, yeah, we all had a fucking dad. What do
What do
you
you think we came from test tubes? You stupid fucking. The movie sucks.
It's worth the watch though. And,
It's worth
the best
Disclaimer,
part,
it's really,
though-
it's really worth the watch.
no, but the best part though is, unlike the Greasy Strangler, which I paid $35 for, this movie you can watch right now for free in pretty good quality on YouTube. Like, if you're looking for something to just to throw on at a party with some friends who like bad movies or whatever, just do it. It's not gonna cost you any money, and it really won't cost you any time because you don't have to pay attention to the whole time. But if you do check in once in a while, you'll catch something that just makes you go like, "What the fuck?" Like even just some of like the throwaway commentary between people, you have to question it. Like don't get beat up by.
I understand now why.
Girl Scouts, right?
Yeah, that was fun. I haven't seen anybody since '62.
Yeah. You understand why what?
I don't remember what was wrong with that.
You said that you had.
I understand why now that he thought it was a joke.
When people called him.
Yeah, when people called him and got asked for distribution rights, and he thought it was a joke. I get that now.
What do you think his like emotional roller coaster is? It's like 25 years later, movie flopped, and they're like, "Yeah, we want to get the distribution rights. We think we're gonna do well," and he's like, "Fuck
you.
off."
No, I'm Orpin.
Yeah, that would be.
The movie is an Orpin. It has no parents.
That would be tough. Just putting everything into a movie like this, thinking it's going to be so successful, and like he probably had hopes he'd be like the next Jackie Chan, like came to
Bruce Lee.
America and would like pursue a martial arts career, but with like Taekwondo instead of Kung Fu, and then he just like fucking.
However,
gets shat
the
on,
cocaine and like the way obviously the movie was made in the '80s, so I can't like. They didn't have to try to make it accurate, but the movie was pretty accurate from what I've seen. And also, mixed with cocaine cowboys a little bit. There's only cocaine once in the movie, actually. Actually, never mind. There was cocaine in the movie once at the very fucking beginning, and they never brought up cocaine ever again.
Right at the beginning, yeah.
He fucking yeah.
Shane,
Fuck you.
Who were the good guys in this movie?
I don't fucking know. The beginning, it was bad guy versus bad guy.
Yeah.
It felt like he was raw. I don't know.
No, go ahead.
No, I felt like the bad guy who was in like the brother with a really nice beard. I felt like he got robbed by the fucking ninjas at the beginning, but I don't like. Obviously, that's not right. I mean, it could be right. The movie was fucking a trash fire, but still.
I think that brother's name was Jeff.
Jeff.
So
My name's
these
Jeff.
are the names of the character. Like if you're gonna get
Jeff.
creative with script writing,
John.
there's Mark, Jack, John, Tom, Jim, Jane, and Jeff.
It has to be single syllable so they can pronounce them.
It's because the Korean guy couldn't fucking say it. Well, your name John. Mark. Mark.
Mike.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah. So, let me read some reviews to you guys and see what you guys think about these people's opinions. So,
Dumb.
when we originally did this, I'd read a bunch of reviews and stuff for this, and went way more into detail with all the behind the scenes and stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go listen to the old Miami Connection episode we did. But all these ones have been written in like the past 6 months. So these are all people who've watched this movie
I would
recently.
love to read the YouTube comments on the movie.
Oh, you should pull it up and read a couple.
My phone's dead. My phone's a piece of shit.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, look.
Kyle might be
take a
able to
look
pull
and
Oh,
see
some
if
wait,
I
up.
never
can
mind.
do
I
it.
turned back on.
All right.
So this one's an 8 out of 10. It was written in April 2019.
Fuck that.
Easily the best and worst movie you've ever seen.
Smart guy.
It's a beautiful mistake of a movie. Horrible acting, as over-the-top 80s Miami Vice ripoff flash as you can load on film, and yet I love every moment. It was so funny bad that I actually thought it was a new movie pretending to be an older, over-the-top 80s
Oh yes.
film. Like Kung Fury.
Super meta.
Nope, it's legit, and that's much better for it. This one's a 2 out of 10. It was written in July. This one was actually last July, so 2018. It's a little longer back. 5.9. How? I guess that's like the IMDb rating. I don't see how this movie has more than a 3-star rating. The acting is worse than an elementary school play. The dialogue is mind-numbingly stupid. The fight scenes are painful. I guess it's one of those cults so bad it's good type movies. Absolutely terrible.
Still gave it a 3 though. You played yourself.
He gave it a 2 out of 10.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And this one was from January 2019. 10 out of 10. Absolutely amazing. This is one of the finest action movies ever made. Hell, it's one of the finest movies ever made, period. This movie is what you'd get if you hired an entire crew of random extras and just ended up using them for all the roles. And also if you had them write the script. It's got motorcycle riding ninjas in Florida. What's not to love? The dialogue often sounds like a bunch of first-year high school students learning their lines for a school play. The fight scenes look like something my friends and I would have choreographed when we were 12 in the early 80s. Everything about this movie is A+. If you try to imagine for a moment while watching this movie that it was made in, say, 2017 instead of 1987, you'll find that you can't, because Hollywood couldn't make something this good nowadays if they tried.
I feel like he's trolling. I feel like he's trolling the entire internet.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I think if somebody tried to replicate the magic that was that movie, I don't think you'd be able to.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. No, you couldn't.
Right? There's like some certain factors about that movie that there's no way you could even stumble upon them.
We
these
should
days.
do an episode on the Wolf Cop series.
Yeah, we should. Maybe we'll do some more for October.
That just came in my brain.
But yeah, Kyle, did you have any YouTube comments you wanted to read?
No, they're all pretty.
Pretty boring.
Yeah, they're pretty boring. Except the one guy's like, I met YK Kim. He's a master.
So Dragon Sound's a few years ago for the movie screening that they did, they had Dragon Sound reunite and perform on stage.
Fucking Oates there.
Before the movie, and there's like hundreds of people in the audience with Dragon Sound t-shirts.
The main guitarist in that movie looks exactly like fucking Oates.
John Oates.
John Oates.
Yeah, and then the other guy, you said originally we said he looked like David Schwimmer with Down syndrome, but you said he looked like Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Mixed with my friend Gage, who lives in Alabama.
Oh yeah, everybody's gonna know that. Nice fucking reference.
Shout out Gage.
Shout out Gage.
Shout out Gage and his stupid hair.
Yeah. So what I found out was the guy
actually is David Schwimmer.
Yeah.
While he had Down syndrome.
The guy who looks like John Oates. Actually, his name is Angelo Giannotti, and he wrote. His name is Tom in the movie. He wrote the main hits for this film, so Friends and Against the Ninja.
Well, he was actually the writer in the movie too.
No, he's just the music writer.
Yeah, he wrote like the music.
Oh, I don't know if he did the score. He might have.
No, I mean like in his character was the guy who wrote.
Oh yeah, he wrote all the songs.
He was writing the keyboards, and he was like, I want to see if he can do it.
Right. Yeah, that was a fucking pointless scene.
No, I feel like the point of that scene was it was just like that's how friendly they were. Like he just goes around and he says goodnight to all his friends in his house,
who are always
5 guys
shirtless,
living in one fucking house, and they're always shirtless, drinking milk and fucking. He fed him grapes.
Oh,
he
my
fed
God.
him grapes at one point.
And the one guy is the only guy who ever gets any fucking mail.
This is the black guy
It's
gets
like
mail.
It's like the subplot of the movie is that he's just like waiting. What did I get for mail today?
And it's literally just like, you got a bunch of bills today, Jim. And then that cuts to the next scene. Like, that's legit all it is. So yeah, let me read you guys some of the behind the scenes stuff about this that might be
It
interesting.
was behind the scenes stuff.
So despite the title, the film takes place in Orlando, not Miami, which Shane established early on. Which is still fucking hilarious to me that it's called Miami Connection, because there's very little connection to Miami. But all of the bikers were real bikers who were paid in beer.
What? Oh
No
my
wonder
God.
why that woman kept taking her top off.
100 of the
fucking
bikers
plastered.
showed up for the film's premiere. Wow. Angelo Gennati and Kathy Collier were dating at the time, so John Oates and the lead singer girl.
Wow.
To avoid any discomfort during the kissing scenes between Collier and Vincent Hirsch, Gennati was told to go buy beer for the crew.
Yo, bro. Here's some money.
Here's 20
He
bucks.
comes back and they're just
They're
fucking her.
making out.
You weren't supposed to see this.
You might not want to be here for this.
Just like a cuck. He's like, what's going on?
He's a cuck.
They're like, this is for the role. Don't worry.
Don't worry. Why are the cameras on? Don't worry about it.
He's like, well, who's the beer for? He's like, it's you. Just sit back and watch, buddy. Just cracking him open. Starts crying and pounding back beers.
While masturbating.
While a biker's groping a fucking meth head next to him. Which happened a couple fucking times in this movie. Yeah, how do you feel about the biker scene, Shane?
That was
The biker bar.
Florida's like people forget that Florida's fucking south, and like now you hear the news about Florida and it's fucking crazy. The shit that happens in Florida is crazy.
Right.
Like when you look at those people, those are like legit Floridians with their hick teeth and their. I feel like you should cut that.
Leaving it in.
I feel bad now.
During the scene where Jim is emotionally telling the band about his father, Joseph Diamond, who played Jack, is clearly trying not to laugh.
Which one's Jack?
The one guy with the unibrow.
The Jew? The Jewish guy? from
Yeah,
Israel?
the Jewish guy.
I want to go to Israel and play there. He wanted to do a world tour, but just selfishly. So we don't have fans. Let's just go play where we're from.
But Jack,
Oh,
I
you're
did
from-
not know you were Israeli.
Yeah. I did not know. I got to move my money now.
Like that's such a Tommy Wiseau thing too. Is just like the lead
Yeah,
actor
no, that
you
guy
can't
was-
understand.
Yeah.
In the original version, okay, what did you guys think of the ending? By the way,
The fucking violent part where he's like,
with
we
the
must
dad.
Oh, the dad. Oh.
That guy was younger than the guy who played his son. That fucking pissed me off. I thought it was the same guy wearing a fucking gray wig and a gray mustache. It was clearly fake.
It was just Halloween spray.
It was Halloween spray. It was like the fucking Angelo guy, like jizzed in his hair from watching his girlfriend get plowed by the entire cast. He was like, "No, just leave it in. It'll make it look gray."
What a
Well, and,
cuck.
like
Just
it
for
like
men.
ended the movie on such a weird note. He's like, "Oh, I love you too, Dad." Like you haven't seen him in how long?
Right?
Are you kidding?
He abandoned you for like 30 years.
I almost lost him twice.
Oh, Dad, I love you.
You've known him for 5 minutes. I've known him. I almost lost him twice. Yeah. You didn't give a shit 10 minutes ago, bitch. You weren't here.
You wouldn't even send him a fucking letter.
The best part about that, the best part about that is that he got in the movie. The black guy got stabbed in the stomach, and then they threw him into a slough, trying to help him.
They just dragged him through a cesspool.
Yeah. He's
So
gonna need a tetanus shot now.
So in the movie, Jim gets stabbed by a ninja, and they take him to a hospital, and they save him, and he meets his dad, right? It's like kind of a happy ending, but not. It's like real fucking weird. So in the original version, Jim dies at the end on the way to the hospital in the car. However, when the film was screened at Cannes in 1987, YK Kim was told by all potential distributors that the ending was a downer. Director Woo Sang Park had already returned to Korea, so Kim himself had to reshoot the ending. The final fight between Mark and Yoshido was added, but the actor was unavailable, so Yoshido was played by William Ergel instead, which is why the final
guy
fight
was white.
was a random white guy. It's just so fucking stupid. Yeah, so
It would have been funny if like they would have killed him and then they would have brought his dad back. But they had the guy who died play the guy who's his dad at the same time. And he was just in costume. What movie is that? Where they kill the one guy and then they bring him back and he's a twin brother.
I don't know.
Beer. It's that one. It's that beer chugging one.
Oh, Beer Fest.
Beer Fest. Yeah, I just thought that was the most fucking stupidest plot point.
We should watch that one. I haven't seen that one in years either. Okay, so favorite parts of the movie and worst parts of the movie.
My favorite part was the entire thing, and the worst part was also the entire thing.
I sense you're a little conflicted about this movie.
No, I just can compartmentalize the bad and the good, and then I can mix. I've come to understanding that they're both good and the bad is the same thing.
What?
Like the parts I hated are the parts I liked.
Right. So what would be like standout moments for you?
Ooh, come back to me.
Okay, Kyle, what about you?
Well, just like the sound effects are my like. They annoyed me at first, but the more I listened to them, the funnier they got. Like they're like hitting each other with sticks, and it's like ting 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 ting, and like there were so many just random sound effects that didn't fit. That I like. The more I watched the movie, the funnier I found them.
I think the mixing was obviously awful.
Yep.
But my favorite part was actually at the beginning when they're doing the first music video, and like they were playing the music and everyone was dancing, but you could still hear the people in the club clapping because
out of time.
Out of time. But you could the music wasn't loud enough to cut out their clapping. You could still hear them clapping.
Right.
That was.
Unless that was intentional to add ambiance, it was just that they were clapping on the tune.
It doesn't make it didn't.
Because they were like,
right.
It might sound live if we have an audience actually.
It wasn't
doing
even
stuff.
one. It wasn't like group clapping. Like the group clapping was quieter than the music, but there would be a scene where the woman would be on stage singing, and then she'd clap, and you could hear her one solo clap over the music and over the other clapping. You'd just be like, and then you hear the other people clapping this.
Yeah, so they were doing it from the perspective of the camera rather than the actual environment, right?
Yeah, the camera perspective versus the environment perspective fucks you up.
Which they did a lot in this movie. Like
the sound effects, actually, I kind of liked it because it was really 80s. It was like it was like typical 80s is what the sound seemed like.
Right.
It seemed like you could hear a lot of the gravel. You could hear like the cars. The doors opening and closing, like you don't hear that in movies nowadays.
See, the reason I register with this movie so much is that watching it's kind of so unbelievably bad and 80s, and like everything that you're saying about it, it's just almost like it doesn't feel real when you watch it. It feels like it's like somebody telling you a fucking fever dream, and you're like, that would never happen. That wouldn't translate.
Yeah.
And then when you watch it, you're like,
It's like
fucking
someone
did it.
telling you murdered your entire family in your sleep, and then you're like, no, and then you get up and everyone's actually dead. Oh fuck.
Exactly. It's very similar to
Jim.
like you can't believe it when you hear it, but
was
when
an
you see
acid
it,
trip.
it's yeah. So that's the way I see this movie, and I think that's why I like it so much, is because it's such a unique viewing experience. Well, for me, this is my second time watching it all the way through, and I wasn't really bored, but I was also able to watch you guys the whole fucking time too if I got bored. So yeah, I don't know.
I didn't get bored at all.
That's good.
I had a rough sleep, so that's why I kept yawning. But
Yeah.
like the movie was like, I'm gonna tell people to watch it.
So let's try and go and see how well you guys remember this movie after just watching it. See if you can put this in order of how things happen, because there's so many fucking fight scenes in so many different places and so many random scenes that they shoehorn
music
in.
videos.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's start it off, Kyle. How does the movie start out?
Well, it's like
Well,
it's like bad guys fighting the bad guys, and there's like the ninjas, and they're like trying to steal the cocaine, I'm assuming. And you get mad that they didn't take the money.
Yes.
but he still got the money. He's
got-
like, you fucking guys didn't take the money. It's a good thing Daddy's here because I went and got the money.
And then how it shows them getting back to the hideout, it's literally a split-second splice of just bikers riding on a
They
highway.
jumped off a fucking water tower, and the next thing they know, they're fucking on motorcycles.
And
Like, were they supposed to jump off of the water tower onto the motorcycles? Because that's badass, but like, you should show that.
and also, you never see ninjas riding motorcycles until the very end.
No, they were fucking in full costume.
They're straight
full ninja costume, which defeats the purpose now that they're on motorcycles.
Right, at the very end, but the rest of the time they're full-on bikers. Just fucking biking around. Which I pointed out. Motorcycles are the loudest fucking vehicle you could possibly drive, and ninjas are supposed to be silent, so it kind of is like defeats the purpose there.
Yeah.
But okay, so how do we get introduced to Dragon Sound? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, the Dragon Sound happens right after the Coke scene. After the Coke scene, and then it goes to the ninja scene where they're in ninja costumes in their fucking dojo. And then it goes straight to the music video, doesn't it? Like, it goes straight to the bar after that.
Right, it's the one guy, he does a Tenacious D intro for the band about them being like the band of a generation.
Yeah.
And then they play Friends for Eternity, Loyalty, Honesty, Friends Forever, We're Here to Win. That song.
Got me pumped up a little bit.
And it's a banger. I don't know what to tell you guys. It's pretty fucking good.
It was pretty 80s. It was like an 80s Scholastic music video.
Like, if you were to...
They played it in elementary school so that you'd respect your friends more.
Yeah, they played them at book fairs.
And there's like yeah, and then there was always like that 30-year-old guy who was like 20 years later who was always like, no guys, respect your friends. Remember the song? Remember Dragon Sound?
Yeah. Friends by Dragon Sound
and
was
his
my...
low key is a Dragon Sound tattoo on his ankle.
Friends by
Or
Dragon Sound.
shirt.
Yeah. Friends by Dragon Sound was my favorite Hoja cover.
Don't fucking touch me.
Do you guys remember Hoja?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had a friend try out for Hoja and he didn't make it.
Oh, because you didn't know Friends. You should have been to more Scholastic book fairs. Okay, so we're introduced to Dragon Sound, who we find out got another band kicked.
Which they imply, by the way. They don't tell you that.
Right, and how they imply it is the guy basically tries to fight the club owner.
He comes in, it's just like four of them, and he just starts yelling, but he's yelling in a talking voice. He's got a yelling voice, but he's talk yelling, and they're just yelling nonsense, and then they fight. And then they fight.
Well, they call each other son of a bitch like six times.
Son of a bitch. Get rid of them, son of a bitch. And he's like, no, your music's for old people. And he's like, that music's for kids.
Right.
And they're both right. They're probably both right.
Did you guys notice how literally every single person in this movie knew martial arts?
Yeah.
Even the club owner who fought those guys?
I didn't think that. Must have been an 80s thing. Coke and Taekwondo.
And then that's when it's revealed that Jane, the singer of Dragon Sound, is related to... Did I say his name was Jeff?
Says Jeff?
The guy with the fucking feather earring and the
that feather earring was, by the way, was super badass.
Discount Chuck Norris?
Yeah.
Big fan of the feather earring?
Badass earring. If I didn't have little bitch lobes, I'd do that.
Bitch lobes.
I have small little lobes. I can't do anything.
So how Jeff is connected to the drug dealers is he sells drugs for them. And that's how he's connected to Dragon Sound, is his sister, who he wants to fuck, is playing with Dragon Sound. Which he's like, she's not supposed to be working, she's a woman, get her off the fucking
Is that
stage.
what he said? I didn't know that. I thought he was upset because she was missing school or something.
What? It was like a nighttime club.
It didn't make sense why he was upset. Everyone can see her.
So
only I can look at my sister.
and he was like, how did she get out of the basement? So then what happens? Do you guys remember?
Then they cut to them in school.
Oh yeah, and everybody's their super fan,
They're like
signing autographs.
she was like tight. They signed autographs?
No, well, it looked like where the one guy was like, "Hey, Dragon Sound." It was like fucking doing shit.
No, it was like the engineering course where they were on computers and she was typing and all of a sudden a circle just appeared on the screen.
Oh, did it go straight into that scene?
I think so, didn't it?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, so
And that's when the fucking
Ferris
Bueller guy met his girlfriend's brother, who wants to fuck his sister at the same time. And then he punched him.
He's like, "Oh, really nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you. You can't be with this asshole," and just like punches him out.
What did you guys think of that really awkward scene of him trying to get her to get out of class? and he's
Oh, that was
just
fucking.
jabbing the air and like sticking his tongue in his cheek and like pointing his thumb behind his back, and she's just like, "No, that's okay." And he's like, "Come on, come on," over and over again, like
No,
6
come
times.
suck my dick. Come suck my dick in the hallway. I want your brother to see.
And then his opening line when she gets out of class, he's like, "So I was thinking about your family, anyways."
Yeah.
And it's like, "What?"
Oh well, actually, my brother's coming right now.
And I fucking hate him.
Yeah.
Why do you
But I
hate
love
him?
him.
Why do? Probably because he had me locked up in the basement and wouldn't let me out to play with Dragon Sound. And then
He won't let me work.
John gets beat up, and then what happens there? Do you think he could have took those guys at that moment?
No, there's too many of them.
Probably not.
Well, we saw how he fucking handled the samurai sword at the end of the movie. You don't think he had the balls to do anything?
Dude,
then?
I'll give the actors credit. They're all fucking jacked. They were fucking ripped.
Well, you could tell because none of them wore shirts for half the movie.
Yeah, but you're in fucking Orlando. It's hot there. People in Florida.
Right, so then I think the rest of Dragon Sound shows up and intervenes on that fight, right? And YK Kim goes,
Yeah.
I'm
They're
not
all
scared of
fucking-
you.
They're all University of Central Florida fucking alumni.
Oh, yeah, they all wear the merch, too.
Yep.
That's another advertising.
No, I remember there's a part where like 4 of them walk out and they're all wearing University of Central Florida shirts. And I'm like, yeah, this is a fucking ad. This nice try. Can't fool me.
But I just love how YK Kim was like trying to be so intimidating.
They
And
all had
he's,
their shirts tucked in too.
he's like 4'7", and he's looking at fucking wannabe Chuck Norris, and he's just like, I'm not scared of you.
I'm not scared of you.
And then they just get in their convertible, and I think they drive to that restaurant. I think that's where you get introduced to that random ass fucking uncle character, Uncle Song, the Chinese food guy. Is that right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, well, what happens next? Because Shane, like 10 minutes in, was like, I fucking wish I grabbed my phone because I need to take notes. You literally just watched this movie.
I don't remember.
All right, so what's the next scene you guys do remember then?
The ending.
The
Credits.
Okay, so there's like the random fight scene where they end up fighting the band who corners them, and the dude pours beer on the one guy's head.
And he leans into it.
Yeah. And then they all
Yeah,
get
you were
out.
so
and-
stoked about that.
Watch the beer. Watch the beer. Just watch it. Just notice what he does. Just watch it. Just
Did you see that? He leaned in.
Yeah, even before he does it, he's like, he's leaning in. Shane, look, he's leaning in.
Because the first time we watched that, we were like, did that actually fucking happen? And we had to rewind and rewatch it. Like,
Can you imagine? I just stopped. Like, what are you doing, man? Don't fucking lean in. It's obvious. Like, they had no one like supervising. They just filmed everything in one take.
well, because the director was in the fucking movie, right? So then
It's like, no, I liked it when you leaned in.
they get surrounded by like 100 guys with weapons who chase them, and they all split up, but then all somehow end up back together and split up again.
There's a lot of fucking like fucking like
And bro shakes.
like that meme, you know, it's like jerking off alone and like being alone and like just
Oh,
fucking
like the
with two arms.
the Arnold Schwarzenegger one from Predator, where they have the handshake
yeah,
and they're super muscular.
yeah,
Yeah,
that meme was like profound in that
this movie. So they beat up the other band that they replaced, who was just upset because they got their spot jacked. Then that band goes to the drug dealer.
Also, they beat him up like 6 times in the movie.
I
He
know.
didn't fucking learn. Like, oh no, we got him this time, guys. No, they got us the first 4, but this time I'm ready. I was texting.
So then they're like, well, to get our job back, we're going to go make a proposition to Jeff, the drug dealer. And the proposition is, if you guys beat up Dragon Sound and get us our jobs back, I'll give you 100% of our earnings.
All the money we make.
Yeah, I'll give you everything.
Just the worst
Like,
fucking
why do you even?
sales pitch.
What's the point?
Exposure? I don't know.
Fucking yeah.
Unless they were like
They
there
just
to...
love playing. They're just in it for the real. They're just in it for the love of art,
Well, if they were
which
in it
makes
for...
them the heroes of the story.
If they were in it for friendship, they would have fucking
Yeah.
stayed probably. But so yeah, then their solution to get Dragon Sound is to follow. What's his name? The fucking Oates. Let's just call him Oates. Jeff.
John,
No, John is the David Schwimmer guy.
Jim,
No, Jim's the black guy.
Jeremy.
Is it Mark? Nope, not Mark. Anyways,
What was the Asian guy's name?
that was Jim.
No, so they even gave him a white name.
Tom is the guy with the mullet.
Oh,
so
Tom.
they kidnap Tom when the
Oates.
rest of the guys
John
jump
Oates.
out. They like pull up to a restaurant. Have you? Okay, this is a question I want to ask you guys. Have you guys ever gone to a restaurant with a bunch of friends?
Dropped them all off and left.
You dropped them all off, then parked? No, my friends are walking with me.
Yeah.
Would your friends ever fuck it? Especially if you sing a song about being friends forever.
Can you imagine being that beta? No, I'll drop all 6 of you off. Don't worry, I'll find a parking spot by myself. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So then that
He
leads.
just wanted to get high in the car by himself first. Fuck you guys, I'm gonna smoke some weed.
So that leads Tom to getting kidnapped. And then the next time we see him, he gets thrown into a closet with like jaguar scratches on his shoulder.
And a fucking bruise on his cheek.
Yeah, or herpes, whichever way you look at it. And then
Like a hickey, to be honest.
and then
Like those fucking... like the other guys just sucked on his cheek.
yeah, they gave him
Hearing a fucking like that.
it was Jeff. He was like, "You're gonna give me my sister back so I could do this to her."
Yeah.
Oh no.
So
Sister's not here to do this, so I'm gonna do it to you.
so speaking of Jane, she shows up to the I guess the workout place. I don't know,
The fucking his shitty gym.
the gym.
Hashtag Iron Aesthetics.
to she shows up to the gym to find Tom, and the guys pretend like they haven't seen him since what was it, 1962?
Yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah, and
Just- The banter in this movie was stupid.
it was the best part. I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
banter in this movie, they might as well just not said anything, just stood there. Like, hey, it's just like empty sound. It's been fine.
Well, there was times where there's conversation happening, but people weren't moving their lips either.
The conversation that was happening, and the conversation that would happen would just never. It would just be one person saying one thing, another person talking about another, and then the third person just being like, murmur.
Right? So then, does she end up finding Tom there, or no? No,
She
they
finds
take
him the first time, and then she's like, "I like this guy. I'm in love with him. Stay away." And then he's like, "No." And she's like, "Okay." And then she leaves.
Okay.
Agrees with him.
She's like, "You're the worst," and then leaves.
And then it cuts. Oh
But
yeah,
like in
so
a
then
flirty way. She's like, "Oh, guys, you're the worst."
before Tom gets kidnapped, they had the train fight too. That was another one.
And the fucking Tom Oates is just running. This is the only thing. He just ran from one fucking on top of one train, just sprinted to the end of the other train.
He wasn't even in the car.
He didn't
when
fight
they
at all.
rolled
He
up.
just fucking train sprinted for the entire fucking fight scene while his friends were fighting, and he's just running back and forth on these tough fucking trains like some hobo.
Right. And those guys got beat up again. There's like 4 or 5 times
For the
these guys
third
get
time.
beat up.
They got beat up on the street like 3 times. Then they got beat up in the train yard.
Right. And then when they
How fucking good were these guys? At, like this has to be a Taekwondo promotion because how fucking like they were like the fucking strongest, fastest, smartest fighters in the world, and it's because they did Taekwondo.
with YK Kim every fucking summer break on a front yard where you let him. That almost felt like an uncle like doing an inappropriate touch where it's like. It's not that weird. He just likes to stick his feet on my nose sometimes. Like,
His whole fist in his mouth.
he told me not to tell anybody, but
Don't show anybody what I did to you.
and that's how they learn is they just let him stick their feet or his foot in their nose.
And then
It's
on
like a-
stage too, he did the same thing.
Oh yeah.
They're the fucking fourth music video where he grabs the guy by the nose and pushes him around and moves him around the stage with his fucking feet. If
foot,
some
so
I don't
gross.
care if you are a black belt 3 times over, you touch me with your feet, I'm punching you in the mouth. I don't care.
Oh, who's the
You
director?
beat me up after, I don't
Who's-
care.
Oh, Tarantino. This should have been a Tarantino movie with the amount of fucking foot action was going on in this
Yeah,
flick.
see, but Tarantino's subtle. This guy just literally
Is he?
put it-
Is he subtle?
Yeah,
Have you
subtle.
seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, he just no, I mean the feet were gross. That's a good movie, by the way.
It was pretty good. So once Tom's kidnapped, they have him strapped to like a fucking. I want to say it's a cell phone tower, but they didn't have cell phones back then.
A
so I
water
don't-
tower. It's also a water tower, isn't it?
Was there water on there?
I don't know. I think it was a water tower. I don't know.
Some sort of tower, and Jeff and his gang is there, the drug dealer, and Dragon Sound somehow knows he's located there. Like they have a tracking device or like a friendship sensor where they're like,
Yeah.
Tom's
They're
in
like
trouble.
out of nowhere.
They just have friend GPS and they come up with, I think they were like wooden sticks or like rebar or something. I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
tell what it was. But one of the opening parts, YK Kim actually slashes a guy's neck open with like a blunt object.
Piece of rebar.
I,
What?
I remember looking at Shane's reaction and I was sold on this movie. It's like, again, just the amount of confusion on your face and shock. I was like, okay, yeah, this movie holds up. I need to show more people this movie. So yeah, and then they end up having to kill Jeff, feather earring brother, touchy brother. Oh my God. By not even pushing him or anything, just like going closer to him, and he basically like leaps off the tower and
I'm
kills
googling
himself.
who's the worst brother in the world.
Cain or Abel, probably.
No, he's worse than that.
So then, after he dies, they go back to the house and they get a letter from Jim's father.
Oh, Jimmy.
And they pull all their money together to buy him a nice suit and an airplane ticket.
Yeah, how much money you got? I got $200. Give it to him.
Yeah.
What? No, give him the money. No, he's gonna go meet his dad.
Yeah, I have $50 left. Okay, here. I have 60.
He's like, I got 200. He's like, oh, maybe I don't have to give him my 50.
Yeah, like imagine being that guy where it's like, can't we each just pitch in 50? Like, why do I have to give 200 when the rest of you are only pitching in $20? Like, fucking Jack over there is not even saying anything.
he's like, how much money do you got, Jack? It's like, negative. I'm overdrawn. Don't worry about it.
Can I borrow $20? So then that scene where he finds his father and then what's the guy's name? John. The guy who's dating Jane. He says, I'm so sorry about what happened with your brother, and she's just like, oh, it's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
She's like, I needed my space for a bit.
Yeah.
And then he comes, but I love you.
That'd
The
be,
next
He's like,
day.
yeah, I fucked your brother up. He's dead.
that'd be funny if somebody edited it and they did like a pause and then like a slow pan and zoom in where it's just like, I'll never be locked up in that basement ever again. And then it cuts back to her being, it's okay. It's fine. And then they start making out in front of everybody.
And Jim's just like giving the creepiest stare to
to smile and
He's
nod.
like, yeah.
He's like got a fucking case of beer and he's got like a tear rolling down his eye.
Just found his father and these two are making up. And then, which like, if your significant other murdered your family member, would you just be like, that's cool. Let's
Depends
make
on
out.
the family member.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then
I
after
don't
that,
like him anyways.
they go to drive to the airport. It's YK Kim's character, John, and Jim. Those three.
You also forgot the beach scene.
Oh,
The beach scene, Kenny. Oh.
All right, you want to talk about the beach
The
scene?
beach scene, they're all at the beach and fucking they're flexing in the cars and that John Oates guy is fucking dancing like a fucking weirdo.
And there's like driving the car down the beach. Frick.
And then he gets out and he asks this one girl for a kiss, which is super rapey. And then the lady pushes him onto another pile of ladies, and then they start fucking pummeling him with shoes, sand, rock, and then he gets up and leaves and the scene's over.
It's a good 2.5 minutes, and
That's a very
his one friend Jack is trying to help him up, but also kind of holding him down.
You fucking deserve this, you fucking rapist. I get your girlfriend's over there, but you don't need to fucking do this to everybody else.
The best cat call is from Jim, where he just lifts up his glasses and just goes, "Ooh."
He's over. He's like flexing his arm. He's like, over here.
Ooh, over here.
Yeah.
What was the one? The buns one?
It's like they don't make buns like that in a bakery.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Close up on the girl's butt. Oh, so good.
That's the title of this podcast, by the way.
They don't make buns like that in a bakery.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, so that scene happened, and then it cuts to, I think, pretty much the final scene of the movie, right?
No, there's a bunch of
The
stuff.
climax after the beach scene, and then
After the beach scene, then they kidnap him, and then they go to the fight.
Yeah.
And then they throw up the brother, and then Jim, John, whatever the black guy's name was,
Jim.
Jeremiah, Jiminy, Jiminy Cricket. Then that happens, and then the fucking brother scene, and then the girl comes back, and then the movie ends.
Yeah,
They're
no,
like walking down a fucking ambulance, or they're walking down the hospital hallway.
You're forgetting the Rambo scene. You have to
Yeah.
talk about the whole
fucking
Rambo.
No, that scene took way too long. That's my only my only actual problem with that is that ending scene where they fought like 600 ninjas.
You're forgetting John takes on like 20 ninjas by himself with a samurai sword with 0 experience. Also with a big slash across his spine. And then Jim's the only one that gets hospitalized at the end, and John's just sitting in a chair already waiting for him.
My back's fine, don't worry.
And him and YK Kim both look like they just seen some shit. Like they both just came back from Nam and their best friend just blew up right in front of them, you know? Like there's that one scene where YK Kim's in the bushes and his teeth are sticking out and he just looks broken.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
When Jim gets stabbed and just like lets out that scream, everybody just stops. Jim!
Completely stops. And then he runs over there with no regard that the ninja who just stabbed him is still there.
Still there, yep.
He just lets him hug him for a bit and then, drags him into the cesspool, which we discussed earlier. And then they somehow get him back to the car, and they must have killed all of the
favorite
biker
part
ninjas.
they killed all the ninjas. My favorite part actually was when they're in the car and his tie. He had a big slice across his fucking stomach, and the tie was cut. That's continuity.
Oh, there you go. That's some shit. While they're in the car, probably would have been the scene where Jim actually died in the original. And then, yeah, like Shane said earlier, they get to the hospital, and this guy who looks like he was maybe 25 has gray hair and a mustache. It's one of the funniest scenes because Shane just goes, "Is that the same fucking guy?" Normally, right? Let me
Not to be racist.
Let me
not to be
reenact
racist.
this.
Not saying that all black guys look the same. Just they looked identical.
They looked very
They
similar.
both look like Gerard Carmichael.
This is an exact recording of Shane in that moment. This is us watching the movie. Is that the same fucking guy? Is that the same fucking guy? Tell me right now. And he started fucking losing his shit. And I had to reassure him, like, we're going to record in 5 minutes, calm down. And then you were like,
regain.
is that the end of the movie? Is that it? And then it plays a quote.
And then it ends.
It
and
plays a
then
quote.
it fucking
Do you
ends.
remember what the quote was?
It says, "We will end violence with peacefulness," or something.
No, you can only accomplish world peace by eradicating all violence.
Yeah, which thank you, by the way.
Good
No
plan.
shit. I didn't know that.
Right.
I didn't know that to create world peace, you have to stop violence.
You have to create peace.
Yeah.
So I've seen interviews with
But
YK Kim,
worldwide.
and one of the things he totes about his martial arts and his taekwondo training is he teaches people
Taekwondo,
peace
in the head and the heart.
Exactly. It's like complete and utter peace. It's basically that whole quote that the uncle says to them after the uncle beats up that group of kids that were just skipping out on their bill at his restaurant. That guy went on like a big long spiel about how martial arts is like something special while YK Kim was grabbing the dude's nose on stage. That was that whole montage. And it's kind of funny because in this movie, YK Kim just like straight up murders like a dozen people. He's like the least peaceful motherfucker in the movie.
And the cops came at one point.
Even the biker ninjas killed less people in this fucking movie.
Cops came at one point and they're just like, fuck it.
Yeah, that's what they said. They were like,
The gangs.
we already have a gang problem. They'll take care of themselves. And
while
take
the
care of
cops holding
themselves.
while the cops holding his fucking revolver at his partner's stomach.
Okay,
Finger was on the trigger though. I noticed that.
is there anything else you guys want to say about this movie? No, that should be it.
Just,
Check it out.
It would be worth. It'd be worth taking a watch. Go ahead and watch it with some friends. It'll be funny. You'll have.
Don't
some
watch it
good laughs.
alone. If you watch it alone, you're a
don't
sad
watch
human.
it alone. You'll not have fun.
Do you think you could benefit from some intoxication while watching this as well, or do you think it would make it harder to watch? Because I'm on the fence about that. I don't know if it would be better or worse if you were drunk or high.
If you're not rowdy, it's fine.
Okay. So yeah, Shane will be back in the next, actually, probably the next episode we do, where we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite musician, R. Kelly. We're going to be watching the Trapped in the Closet series and doing, I think, some commentary on that. Kyle will also be joining us for that. And then after that, me and Shane, I think we're talking about doing an episode on Troll 2, and maybe we'll do the Wolf Cop movies for October as well.
Yeah, Wolf Cop would be sweet.
Is there any other like so good it's bad movies you think we should watch or do for this?
See,
Because
Dead Alive, Brain Dead. Like
that's a good one, but it's impossible to track down, and I've already seen it.
I've already seen it.
Yeah.
I'm not watching it again.
Oh, you wouldn't watch it again?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, he's texting now. He's just checked out. If we think of any more movies like that, we might do some more. Shane's always my go-to for that, and he's got a bunch of interesting movies to watch all the time.
Hang on, I had a list saved. Best B-rated movies.
And we might do some trauma films eventually here too. And I think Kyle's going to come back. We'll do some more episodes. I want to try and do some more episodes like we did with the Freaky Stories one, where we revisit. There's a few that we wanted to do, but is there any in particular off the top of your head that you really want to jump into next?
Nothing I can think of except for like someone just sent me just like the beginning sequence for Are You Afraid of the Dark, and I forgot. I was like, man, I want to watch.
Should we do that? That'll be the next one.
I still watch that show. It's on YouTube for free.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the next one we'll do. Maybe we'll do Are You Afraid of the Dark then. That would be a sick one.
Yeah, we could do that for sure.
Cool.
Goosebumps as well.
Yeah, Goosebumps, but I'm thinking more like Street Sharks and like weird, obscure shit like that. But
Fright Night Part 2.
yeah, thanks for hanging out and listening to this episode. I guess happy 1 year to the podcast-ish. It's just after a year, but if you guys want to get in touch with us, you can follow us on social media, on Instagram at Life with Kenny Pod, or Facebook, Life with Kenny Podcast. I got plans to have a lot of different guests on over the next couple months, so if that sounds like something you'd fancy, just tune in. Oh yeah, Shane, that's another one we were going to do. I was thinking about maybe doing that, what was it, Sicilian Vampire or whatever I sent you that trailer for, and you were like, that looks pretty good.
What, the Spider-Man one?
No, this guy Frank D'Angelo. He's basically the Canadian Tommy Wiseau, is what I told you. We'll be talking about that too, and maybe I'll get Shane to watch that with me too.
What was it called?
Sicilian Vampire, I think. But yeah, I guess if you guys are interested in our talk on R. Kelly, tune in next week for that. And until then, Kyle, you want to sign us out? Do you remember?
Fuck you, Judge Reinhold.
And get a life.
Peace,
No, man.
pussies.
I don't-